Alright guys, welcome back to another video. Today I want to talk a little bit about the Brawler 64 controller. I just received mine. I am super excited to test this out. For those of you who don't know what this is, basically a few months back, a company called Retro Fighters started up a Kickstarter to make a new Nintendo 64 controller and give it more of a modern feel. Now, the controller is very similar to a Hori Nintendo 64 controller that was made a while back, but that controller can go for around $100, which is absolutely crazy. This one, I believe, is around the $25 to $30 range, depending on where you get it. I personally suggest that you go to castlemaniagames.com, because if you do go to castlemaniagames.com and pick yours up, you can actually save 10% off of your purchase, and all you have to do is use the coupon code RAX. That's really cool for them to give us that coupon code just for you guys watching this video. They didn't necessarily send me this controller. I did actually back the Kickstarter, which I am pretty proud about. I never really backed a Kickstarter before, but I really thought that this was something worthwhile and definitely something that the retro community needed for especially Nintendo 64 collectors. Here's a little close-up on the controller. As you can see, the C buttons and A and B buttons are pretty much in the same spot as they would be on the Nintendo 64 controller, but when you start looking over to the left, you will notice that there are some slight changes. There is not that middle prong anymore, and also above the start button, you have a clear button off to the top right and a turbo button off to the top left. The analog stick on this seems very, very nice. I have not gotten a chance to actually play games with it, which we are going to do in just a moment, but another cool feature is that on the top you have the right and left bumper, but below that you have two Z bumpers, one on the right side and one on the left side. Just to clarify, that is the same button, just two different spots that you can press that, which is really, really convenient for right-handed gamers and left-handed gamers. Another really cool thing that I want to point out is the packaging that it came in. It does have a really cool N64 styled box. So you'll see that it has the little red stripe on the right, like most of the Nintendo products had back when they were coming out, back when the Nintendo 64 was still in circulation, and it was just a really nice touch. I know it's a small detail, but it's something that, kind of brings back that retro feel. It feels like something new for the Nintendo 64, which, I mean, technically it is, but it feels like an authentic Nintendo 64 experience, just kind of seeing that old school red stripe on the right side of the box. I thought it was really cool. I know it's really small, but I thought it was a really cool little additive to the packaging there. So now that we have gone over a couple of the different, aesthetic looks of the box and the controller, let's actually put this thing to the test. Let's check it out. Let's see what kind of quality this thing upholds. It is a little lightweight. That was one of the things that I did notice when I took it out of the box, but that's not gonna really matter unless you're gonna be rage quitting and slamming the thing on the ground, which I don't suggest you do. If you do, this thing is definitely gonna break, but you shouldn't be doing that anyway, so don't do that. So let's get into some gameplay. All right, so let's check out some gameplay, and the first thing I want to check out is Starfox 64, just because I feel like this controller could really make a difference with some of the flight controls. As you can see here, I do have my controller set up. I am capturing game footage from a Nintendo 64 with my Elgato game capture. So it's not some kind of emulation with the controller plugged into some kind of Nintendo 64 to USB thing on my PC. This is captured on a Nintendo 64, so let's get right into this. Now I just plan on doing a few seconds of each game that I am going to try. I am going to try out a few different games here, so this is just the first one that I wanted to try. You guys may hear a little bit of clicking. That's just because my microphone is super sensitive. The buttons themselves aren't loud, but one of the things that I did notice is when you are moving the analog stick around, due to the little 8 grooves that you have on the controller on the analog stick, I'll do a little bit of a better job of zooming in on that on my camera to show you guys what I mean, but it does make like a little bit of a clicky noise when you're doing that, so if you guys hear that, that's what it is. So yeah, first thing that I notice is the sensitivity on the analog stick. It's really nice to get those like slight movements that you want to get sometimes. The button response is extremely on point. This is a great controller so far, and I'm really enjoying this because one of the biggest complaints that I have about the Nintendo 64, not so much is the design, but the fact that the analog stick has such a dead spot when you are moving the analog stick. So the analog stick on this controller is extremely precise, and that is absolutely fantastic for some of the games that I am going to be checking out. Especially for this one. One of the things I do want to try is the turbo function, which let's give that a shot. Basically, to turn that on, all you have to do is hold down the turbo button, then press the button that you want it to activate. At least that's how I'm doing it. I didn't really read the instructions, but it seems to work that way. So that's how I did it. Do a little flip there, get behind these guys. Man, this turbo function is crazy on Starfox, and turning off the turbo function is extremely easy too. All you have to do really is just hold down the clear button, just like you activated the turbo function. You pretty much can just clear the turbo function the same way, just using the other button. So the next game that I chose here was Diddy Kong Racing 1 because it's one of my favorite games on the Nintendo 64, but I also feel like this is another one of the games that will test the accuracy of the joystick, which right now it is incredible. Obviously I'm in fourth just because I'm terrible at this game, but the steering is much more precise using this controller. Not having that dead zone in the controller is really, really nice. And it makes it a lot easier to hit those really sharp corners because you can actually get a more precise direction out of the analog stick. What is a N64 video without Super Mario in there? So let's check out Super Mario. I like to you know, gauge the analog stick off of this one as well, just because of the fact that you can do that flip right there. That's exactly what I was looking for. Boom, there we go. Look at that. So, right there, that is a really, really good sign that we were able to chain those side flips together like that. Now, normally when I play this game, if I'm using a regular Nintendo 64 controller, I would notice myself going in these zigzags, just trying to stay in a straight line, but with this one, I am very much able to kind of go in the direction that I want to go and not have to worry so much about doing these like zigzag motions and getting messed up. So this is a really good experience, can't lie. So the reason why I chose Pokemon Stadium is because when I was backing the Kickstarter, I got an email informing me that the controller had an issue with working with the transfer pack for this game. Now, I wanted to check it out for myself, but as I go to stick this into the controller, it actually doesn't even go in all the way. Now, I will say that is just an issue with this one. I personally have had zero issue, you know, fitting in a memory card. As you can see, it went right on in, if you could see that, and fitting a rumble pack and it has absolutely no issue as well. Actually, the rumble pack fits just perfectly, so there's no extra rattle. If you do have a rumble pack, it actually works quite nicely with it. But unfortunately, if you are a Pokemon Stadium fan, using your transfer pack is just not going to work, unfortunately. But I do want to try a workaround for this, so let's see if this works. Alright, so what I did was actually take the original N64 controller and plugged it into the second player slot while I have my Retro Fighters controller plugged into the first player slot. So let's go in and see if it's recognizing it and if we can still play with... Alright, so it's definitely being recognized, so let's check that out. Let's go into Pokemon Stadium. Let's go over to the Game Boy Tower. And boom. Even when I'm using the first player, I can still access the Game Boy Tower with my first player controller with the Retro Fighters in the first player slot. So as long as you take your transfer pack and plug it into a second controller in the second player slot, you can actually still play your Game Boy games through that. which is really, really cool. I had a fear that I wouldn't be able to use this game at all, but from what I've seen so far, it is compatible. You just need to have an original N64 controller plugged in order to use it on this game, which in all honesty is not the biggest deal. Just take it, plug it into the second player slot, put it on the ground, whatever, put it on your desk, wherever you put your controller, but it's much better than not being able to use it at all. I do think that they are planning on releasing a second version of this controller with that issue fixed, so we'll kind of wait around and see if there's any info from that. I'm sure that Retro Fighters has like a Twitter or something that I'll leave on the screen if I can find it, but I'm sure that it'll be fixed with the second version. All right, guys, so there you have it. Those are my thoughts and opinions on the Brawler controller from Retro Fighters. It is a absolutely incredible controller. The analog stick is amazing. The comfortability is great. The affordability is another real good reason to pick one of these up. Like I was saying before, if you were, looking for that Hori controller that is kind of rare and really expensive, this is a great alternative to that. And honestly, if you head over to Castlemania Games, like I was mentioning before, castlemaniagames.com, use the coupon code RAX, and you can save yourself 10% off your entire order, and anything over $20 will get you free shipping. So the only issue that I had with this controller, and it was something that I expected going into this because I was actually informed about it ahead of time, but the transfer pack's not working with the controller, but it is a minor issue. Obviously, we went around a little way to work around that issue, so if you need to, just plug in a second controller that is an original controller and just use your transfer pack with that controller. They are going to be releasing a second version from what I understand. And hey, Retro Fighters, if you happen to come across this video and you need some ideas for that version, it would really be cool if you could add a C stick to the controller and be able to map that left, right, up, and down to a stick and maybe give it a diagonal shaped gate there. So if I want to play some GoldenEye or something like that, I can actually use a stick. And I think some Smash players might enjoy that too. I know a lot of people like to use the C stick when they're playing Smash. So just an idea. Thank you guys so much for checking out this video. If you liked it, make sure to leave a thumbs up. If you didn't like it, go ahead and hit the dislike. I don't care. If you know somebody that is a big N64 fan or a collector in any aspect, make sure to send this video to them. They might enjoy learning a little bit about the Retro Fighters controller if they haven't already found out by the hundreds of videos that are on this topic. But thank you guys for choosing my video to check out. I really appreciate everybody who has been supporting this channel. Thank you guys so much. I will see you on another video. Check out this craziness that we're going through right here. Focus. Oh, there we go. It's insane. Every time I'm filming anything, the power keeps flickering, so it's pretty crazy.